John the Baptist to lead up to the ladies? Well, we know that John the Baptist was the son of Elizabeth, which was Mary's cousin, the mother of Jesus. He was the forerunner of Christ. He was a bold man. He was a wild man. I mean, he lived what he taught. He preached in the wilderness. He wore camel hair. He ate honey and locusts. I mean, he was truly a voice crying in the wilderness. And he preached about Jesus coming. He baptized, that's why they called him John the Baptist. He baptized a lot of people. As a matter of fact, he baptized Jesus. He didn't want to. He didn't want to because he didn't feel like that he was worthy to baptize Jesus. But Jesus told him, yes, I want you to baptize me. So if we all know the story of Jesus' baptism. When he came down, they didn't sprinkle him. I don't care what anybody says, they didn't sprinkle people. That's why we don't sprinkle people. They dipped him down in the water. He was down in the water and he came out. Dove ascended. And God said from heaven, this is my beloved Son, of whom I am well pleased. But that was one of the many that John the Baptist baptized. But I mean, he went all over. And let me tell you, Herod couldn't stand it. Herod wanted to kill him. But he was scared too. Because he was afraid that people would rise up because he was such a popular man. They followed him like they later followed Jesus. People lived in terrible circumstances to follow John the Baptist. And so but Herod, he wanted to wipe him out because he didn't want anybody to have power or to follow anybody but him. But there comes a woman. I've been preaching about the good women, but now this was an evil woman. Philip, the brother of Herod. Herod wanted this woman. And John the Baptist came to him and said, you can't have this woman. This is your brother's wife. Well, she purely despised John the Baptist. She wanted him killed. So she got her daughter. It was Herod's birthday. They had a big party. And her daughter got out there and she danced. And he said, would you please me with this dancing? What gift can I give you? She gave me the head of John the Baptist. He beheaded John the Baptist and presented his head to her on a silver platter. But John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus. Didn't stop anything. He chopped his head off. It didn't stop anything. Look, we all need to be as bold. Would we suffer like this for the word of Jesus? Would we eat honey and locusts and live in the desert and wear camel hair and long hair and look like a woolly booger? I mean, we wouldn't do it. But we should. We should be just as bold. Go ahead.
Can I say a couple things right now?
Go ahead, man.
Being a forerunner for Christ, God, Jesus, even said,
if he hadn't come to pave the way for Jesus with the following he had, you know, we all have to tell the story of Jesus' second coming. He told of Jesus' first coming. We have an obligation as apostles. We're apostolic. That's what the name means. We are apostles. We have an obligation to tell the story of what is, what was, and what's to be. Okay. Now we're going to talk about Elizabeth. You know that she was the mother of John the Baptist. And she was older than Mary. She was Mary's older cousin. The angel Gabriel came to her and told her that Mary was going to have a baby. That it would be the Son of God. God come to earth in human form. And I'm sure she thought, I'm not going to go tell that woman that. But that's faith. That's faith. I mean, when an angel came, I probably dropped dead if an angel came to me. I have seen angels like spoke in this place before, but I haven't seen them in a fleshly form. It would probably scare me to death, and if they spoke to me, I'd probably pass out, you know. But I mean, well, seriously, you're going to go tell somebody, hey, this angel came to me, they're going to think you're nuts, you know. And I'm sure she thought that. Go ahead, Diane. You know, because, you know, oh, have you seen one? Tell us about it. Tell us about it.
When I had my open heart surgery,
Oh, yeah?
I had one on my shoulder.
Well, I know a lot of people have. I've never really, I've seen it, like I said, I've seen them flying around in here like a bunch of smoke. I know everybody that's been here for very long has probably seen them in here because they're here. But I've never seen one standing next to me and talking to me. I have had dreams that I know was God or an angel talking to me, but not when I was wide awake. But I'm welcome. I'm open to it, Lord. but so tell me, fear not. First, you're right, Diane. But anyway, she was obedient because she had faith. She went and told Mary. Well, then you got to consider Mary. I mean, she's a young girl. 14 years old, they say. But young. I mean, she was a young, pure girl. She had never been with a man, didn't even think about being with a man. I mean, you stop and think about it. This woman came and told her, look, you're going to have a baby. I remember a couple of years ago when they did the Christmas play, and they had Hunter, and he was supposed to say, he was supposed to be the angel. He was supposed to say, Mary, you're going to have a baby, and you will call him Jesus. He went up there and he said, Mary, girl, you're going to have a baby. It's Jesus. You know? But I mean, you know, I'm sure that she thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to have a baby? And you know, and you got to think about how obedient she was and faithful. Because she didn't say, no, I'm not going to do this. And if she had said she wasn't going to do it, I'm sure that God would have chosen someone else. Because he requires obedience and faithfulness from us. Always. You know? And if we won't be faithful to him, he'll find somebody that will. If he tells you, Sister Donna, you're going to sing. If you don't sing, he'll give that gift to somebody else. You know? I love to sing. I can't, but I love to. But you know, that's the thing. He wants, above all else, faithfulness and obedience. Then you got to stop and think about Joseph. What a load that man had on him. I mean, you stop and think about it. There he was just engaged to Mary. And she comes up pregnant. I mean, he had the right to kill her. They did it. They still do it. You know, but he didn't. Because he had faith. He had faith in God, that God was telling him, this is the way. We want an obedient husband for Mary. We want an obedient man to raise me up from a baby. You know, we know the life of Christ. We know when he was a baby. We know when he was 12 years old teaching in the synagogue, temple. Then we really don't know a lot about him until he gets grown and starts his ministry. But all that time, Mary and Joseph were taking care of him. They raised him up. They provided for him. He could have bought the food and everything they needed. But they did the things. They were true parents to him. I mean, what an obligation that was, but what an honor that was. Can you imagine being the mother and earthly father of God? I mean, and they knew what his faith was going to be. Now that's a hard thing. Can you imagine knowing that you raised that child to 33 years old, knowing that he was going to die? That's still your baby. I don't care if he was God here on earth. That's still their earthly baby. But, you know, the women, there's so many faithful men in the Bible, but there's all these women. I mean, there's Mary, and I think about Mary Magdalene. This was a bad woman. I mean, she had a terrible life. She did. But she was transformed. She was saved. She changed her life. She loved Jesus. She had spirits, but she anointed. She was anointed by Jesus, anointed by John the Baptist. You know, that just goes to show, you don't have to live a good life your whole life for God to love you. He'll love you just as you are. I love that old song, just as I am. Because you come to Him just as you were, dragging whatever you had behind you. And I feel like He just cuts out all that bad stuff. If you truly, truly have faith in Him, and you truly, truly want to live a better life, He just totally forgets and forgives. It's gone. People don't forget. They may forgive you, but they still hang on to a little bit of thinking of it. But God doesn't. But this woman, you know, and it was unheard of, too, for women to follow men around. You know, in those days, they really just didn't do it. But he had followers that were women. And to me, that was miraculous because, you know, even today, the women in that part of the world are totally segregated from the men.
Yes, they are.
They're not allowed to follow a man around. I had a friend of mine, her mother went to Saudi Arabia. She could not drive. She could not go to the store by herself. She had to have a guide. She couldn't go on the streets. They let her wear her clothes, which they looked down on her, but she couldn't even go anywhere without a man with her. So she had to hire somebody to drive her or somebody to walk in the store with her. They even had to pay for her food. She couldn't even pay for her food. I guess her money was dirty. I don't know. But I mean, for these women, that's the opinion they have of women even today. And you can imagine that they don't do as, I don't think quite as badly now as they used to, but they say it's still bad. Believe me. But I want to talk about Martha. I mean, I kind of feel sorry for poor old Martha. You know, I mean, but to show you how faithful she was, she might have whined and cried, but she cooked, she cleaned. She wasn't in with the inner circle. You know, I'm sure she thought, look, I'd like to go over there and sit at Jesus' feet and listen to him preach and teach. But I've got to cook for all these people, and I've got to clean up behind them. And you know, she kind of fussed with the other women, but, you know, that's faithfulness too. We need laborers. We don't just need all these princesses, you know, strut around, you know. I mean, honestly, I'm not saying that they were, but, you know, there were women that followed Jesus, but she did the majority of the work. And I know she resented it, but she still did it because she was faithful to Jesus. And I want to talk about, I pretty much covered the Marys and Martha and Elizabeth, but I want to talk about, they were the last ones at the cross when Jesus died. They didn't leave him. The men left. They stayed right there until he was brought down from the cross. They were, yeah, they didn't care. I mean, the men, I know they loved Jesus, but they were scared. They thought, we're going to be killed too, and a lot of them were later on. But then when it came time to go to the tomb, they were the first ones to the tomb. They came to clean his body and prepare it for there. He was gone. But they weren't afraid to come. They were faithful. You know, they could have left him there. They weren't afraid to come. And when they left the tomb, they were the first ones to go and spread the word. He's alive. He's not in that tomb. He's gone. They saw the angels. Some studies in the Bible say one angel, some say two. But whatever, it doesn't matter. The angel told them, he's not here. He is risen. They went out to tell the world. And they preached along with the men. A lot of people really don't realize that. But you know, how faithful they were. The men loved Jesus, because they were afraid. They went and hid. These women didn't hide. They were bold.
They were bold.
They were bold. They were faithful.
And
They
they
were-
could have got killed.
They could have been killed. They could have been killed at the tomb. I mean, they could have been killed at the cross. Because they did crucify women. They beheaded women. They stoned women. They could have been killed right there. Because you know that those Roman soldiers were in a tizzy. You know, they hated Jesus. They were always just turmoil. Get rid of this man. Look what he's doing. He's not for us. He's against us. He's trying to turn the people against us. They're going to rebel against us. We're going to kill this man. They could have wiped out those women right there. But the women didn't care. Because they loved Jesus so much. And they were so faithful to him. They stood there. The next morning, like I said, they could have stayed home. They didn't know what they were going to be facing when they went to that tomb. There could have been legions of soldiers there to kill them, to kill anybody, because that's why they put the stone there. That's why they put the guard there, because they thought somebody was going to come because they had been preaching the resurrection. They thought people were going to come and steal his body and take him away from there. They were on guard for that. But let me tell you, God closed their eyes. God still kept them from attacking people. They were in a stupor. But the women went in. And they saw the angel. The angel told them, he's not coming. He's risen. I mean, that's miraculous to me. But then they went out and they went to the upper room and they met, Paul and Silas. Come. Look, there you go. He's risen.